Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's EAC webinar. This is Cassie Stumo. I am the marketing specialist here at EAC. We'll start off today with Jenny Wilson, our lead associate account manager, who will give us a brief overview of EAC. And then PTC's technical specialist, Colleen Garrigan, will be presenting on how you can bring your service documentation to life with PTC's Creo Illustrate. Everyone gets a recording of the session. Please remember to use the chat function to ask questions, and we'll answer them after the presentation. I'll pass things over to Jenny to give us the EAC intro.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cassie, for that introduction. So I'll start off with a quick introduction to EAC. So our mission here is that we transform the way companies design, manufacture, connect to, and service their products. So those of you that don't know EAC, we are proud to be the #1 solutions provider for PTC in the country, offering our customers everything they need for product development to stay ahead of the game with advancements in the latest technology. So we offer things like service lifecycle management software, which helps you create and manage service documentation, product data management software like Windchill, ThingWorx, Navigate, and our customizable EAC productivity apps, which helps you manage internal product data. We also implement the Internet of Things and augmented reality into business strategies to jumpstart initiatives around digital transformation and connecting all things in your company. We also assist with, things like design and engineering projects like FEA, simulation, reverse engineering, or really just building proof of concepts for our customers. And lastly, we offer, these types of webinars and PTC certified training courses for continuous learning. On top of some of the services that we offer, we also offer a commercial reseller, we are a commercial reseller, not offer, for Formlabs, offering their latest products in additive manufacturing. The Form 3 is available with packages starting at $34.99. Any previous owners from the Form 2 prior to the Form 3 release date of April 2nd of this year will receive a $500 off their order of the Form 3 until June 1st of 2019. Otherwise, we are going to be selling the Form 2 at a discounted price of $28.50. So I just wanted to let you know, a little bit more about EAC. Just keep us in mind. We really do have a variety of tools to help your organization save time and money throughout the product development process. But taking a step back, today we're going to start talking about Creo Illustrate and letting you learn about a little bit more about it. So I'm going to pass this on to Colleen.
All right, thanks, Jenny. So today I'll be talking with all of you about Creo Illustrate, which is PTC's tool to illustrate and make any of those rich graphics that you need either in 2D formats for owner's manual or maybe in the 3D format for people to use on that manufacturing floor to really understand the materials they're working with. So Creo Illustrate and technical illustrations that you're going to make for any of those manuals or service instructions are vital to communicating the product, service, and part information. And all through your enterprise from start to finish, you're going to need the documentation in various forms, formats, and styles. But it's hard to build all of these technical illustrations and time-consuming if you're going to do it manually. If you have to redo some of the work the engineers did or add in a lot of your own 2D features for any drawings, it's going to be a manual and slow process. And you want to be able to use that rich 3D content that your engineers have already made. You want to use that as a base for all of your technical illustrations. But it's hard because your illustrators don't know CAD. Your illustrators aren't engineers going in and making changes to the design. So what you could do is have your engineers create all of those technical publication documents that you need. But that means they're not spending time on improving the design of your product. And a lot of the times, the process of making all of these technical publications that you need for the manuals or for service text, they aren't done until that final design has been sent off. So that means you're doing all of the work at the back end of the process. And these design changes, if they go ahead and send out that final and then they have a next version, all of the publications you made are going to have to go in and be manually updated for the new changes, or the updates just won't happen and all of your customers will have outdated manuals. So the solution here is Creo Illustrate. So that's the tool that's going to keep you connected to your engineers and all that rich 3D data, and allow your illustrators to be in a tool that's built for them so they can easily make updates, make documentation in 3D or in 2D formats. A little bit more about the specific capabilities of Creo Illustrate here. So it's a separate Creo application made specifically for illustrators. It's not made for engineers. Okay, so it's designed for a non-CAD user. So it's an illustration tool meant to do rendering, meant to do callouts or balloons. It's not meant to be the more intense, let's design a new product CAD. It's also CAD heterogeneous, so it doesn't care if you're getting your 3D models from Creo, from a product view file, a step file, or any other third-party CAD tool. It's going to allow you and your illustrators to work with any of them. Creo Illustrate's going to allow you to make rich 3D technical illustrations in a lot of different formats. It can also understand the BOM structures, and the individual parts can be identified. So when you move your 3D models from your CAD solution into Illustrate, you're not losing any of that integrity of each piece. You're still able to select on each piece and manipulate it as your illustrator would like. You can also make intelligent callouts like we see here. We have different balloons pointing out different parts. Creo Illustrate also has a very large library of symbols and graphics. We see on this image here hands and arrows. So you can use any of those. They're already in Creo Illustrate. You don't have to go out and find them yourselves. So there's a default library, but you can also add in, if you have some graphics already made, you can also add those in. We also have extensive graphical techniques. We see here that we changed a 3D model to look more like a 2D drawing. So you have those rendering options. You have cross view sections that you can make as well, different line options, whatever is going to look best for that graphic that you want to make, or maybe even your company standards. Something extra that you can do with Creo Illustrate, and there's a small video playing here in the bottom of the screen, is that you can make animations. So it's taking the standard technical publications a step up and is actually showing the process of whatever you're documenting here. It's making that animation so someone can watch what they're supposed to do. So Creo Illustrate is fully integrated with PTC, PLM, and service systems. That means it's completely tied in with Windchill. So you're able to see whenever an engineer makes an update and changes the version of that CAD file, you're able to push that through all the way into the Illustrate file. So your updating process will become much more automatic if you have that Illustrate to Windchill connection. You can publish multiple formats from the same illustration: 3D, 2D vector, and 2D raster-based graphics. So that means CVG files as well as PNGs. Okay, here I'm going to move into a quick demonstration of Illustrate here. Okay. All right, so for this demonstration of Creo Illustrate, what we've been talking about here, I'm going to work with a loader assembly. And what we're going to start off with is a product view file. So that's just a Creo view file format. It's a standard way that you can save off of in Creo Illustrate here. But what I'm going to show is that not only are we able to open a native file format like a PVZ, but we can open up Creo formats. This would include any other third-party CAD source you'd like. We're going to bring in a completely different file format, and we're going to link it and use it within the same Illustrate file as that product view file. So I'll just relocate this back part. And once I do that, I'm going to bring in a third file format, which is just a neutral CAD format of a step file. So you can always save off, no matter what CAD you have, you can save it off as a step or an IGES file. And then Illustrate can also bring in and connect those files to this. So once we get all of the CAD that we have in place here, the idea is to use all these files to create figures. And then each figure can have its own purpose. So we're going to make a couple different ones that show different capabilities of Creo Illustrate and the different functions you can perform. So our first one here, we're going to look at the different rendering options that Creo Illustrate has for you. You can change the lighting that's being displayed with your model, the shading, the line thickness, the illustration style. So whatever I want for this particular figure, whatever purpose I'm serving with this image, I can customize how it's going to look for that. Making another figure for a completely different purpose. This one, we're going to take a look at an animation. So I already have some various steps already done here. So this, we're going to go ahead and add in another step. So the first one, we took a look at how to do some different rendering options. And then this next figure, we're going to focus on being able to take out this bucket and show the animation steps that come into there. Creo Illustrate comes with a lot of its pre-built effects. One of them is being able to flash. So we're going to go ahead and flash the bucket a bright green so that we know that that's the part that's about to move. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag it out with the transform axis that appears and move it down. So once I made that final step, let's go ahead and see that we can add in some notes. So we can just say that we're removing for this step. So someone coming back and watching this later would also have the words as part of the explanation of what's going on. We can also name each step and change how long the step takes. So we can just make it a second longer there. Once I made all of these steps, maybe my sequence is done, I can watch the whole thing. I can see the notes in the step titles that I've added. I can see that we're using a hammer. So that's an additional tool that Creo Illustrate has its options with. So we can watch that whole animation sequence that we took. So you can just imagine that if you're trying to write a manual for how to take apart or disassembly something, that this could just pass off a lot more information in a visual format to the person who you're trying to tell what to do. So we're going to make another figure here for a different purpose, and this is going to be for making 2D images or with a hidden line removal here. So this could be for the purpose of an owner's manual. So the image we see here isn't static. So these are real pieces that can be moved around and manipulated. We can add in detailed view if we want to have a blowout of one section. So we can add in a detailed view there. And each of these detailed views that I have can have different rendering options. So we don't have to keep that as the outline that we have chosen for the whole picture. And then also we can have, you see here, two completely different styles of our callouts or blowouts here. So you can change the leader lines, change what rendering options we want within those detailed views. We can also go ahead and make some callouts here. Okay. So we have some balloon structures here. So we can make the most out of our 3D geometry and structure. Because this is connected with our CAD design, we see that it automatically fills out the part order number and part name of that when we made those call out balloons. And that's because it's tied in with that CAD design from the engineers. So we've made a couple different figures, a couple different purposes. We have the one where we took a look at the rendering, we took a look at the animation, and then something maybe more for a 2D owner's manual or anything like that. Let's go ahead and look at how we can save off or publish these files. First one we're going to take a look at is publishing off as 3D. So there's many different types of file formats. One of them is that Creo view file or the PVZ. Now you could have your illustrator make all these figures, save them off here, and then someone in Creo View Express, what I'm using here to view this file, is free. So you could have your people on the plant floor that you don't want to give them access or don't want to have them use Creo Illustrate or Creo Parametric. You can give them Creo View Express for free, and they're able to view all of the illustration work. So they can see each figure. Again, we had each one for a different purpose. So someone looking in Creo View would be able to select each of these figures to look at to get all of the information that your illustrators thought was important. And they can also view that animation too. So again, just a great way to display information for a disassembly or assembly process. They're able to watch this as well. Okay, so going back into Illustrate here, let's take a look. So we take a look at how it could publish in 3D there. Let's also look at how it looks when you publish in 2D. So same process, we're going to publish it as a PVZ file, but this time in Creo View, it'll all be displayed in 2D images. So we'll just open this up here and we'll be able to see the list of images that we have that we can click through. So again, all that detail, all that work that the illustrator put in is still viewable, but if you need it in a 2D format, you can absolutely do that. Maybe we need this as a technical publication. We want it to be within an owner's manual. We need it more like a picture. So what we're going to do is we're going to save this BOM structure down here, and I'm going to save this off as a PDF file. So again, you have a lot of different options for how you want to save off all of this. This time we are going to take a look at a PDF, but there's PNGs and CVGs as well, SVGs as well, excuse me. Okay, we can pick the size we want to save this on, and we have some different options here for how we want to save this as a PDF file. So here we have the PDF open up for us, and we're able to copy and paste that BOM structure that we saw earlier that describes what each of these callouts or balloons are. We can also save this off as a PNG file. So if you already had a manual or a safety procedure set up, you already have all that done in maybe Adobe or Word, you can go ahead and save off what your illustrator did in Creo Illustrate and bring that straight into that document that you've already started. So here's our document. We have some safety information here, and we're able to see pictures of each step of this disassembly process. So let's go ahead and add in that last picture that we just took. Right here. And the whole part about this is that we're doing all of this with links. So that means that if that engineer makes an update later, all of these are linked back in. So all we have to do is push forward this update, and it's going to make sure that all of our documentation is updated as well. So next, we're going to talk a little bit more about that connection from Creo to Windchill to Creo Illustrate. So we're going to take a little more deeper look at that. So we're going to connect using the Workgroup Manager so we can have these rich interactive and with 3D or 2D CAD illustrations, then all of it is tied directly to that CAD data that your engineers made. So navigating to our Windchill tab in Creo Illustrate, I'm able to open up the Workgroup Manager here. So we'll see that we're taking a look at the frame assembly for the backhoe. We're going to click on the Representation and Annotations tab, and we're going to be able to see that a published job has been performed. We're also able to see the Illustrate source file, so it was used for making any technical illustrations or graphics that we need for different users' manuals or service technician instructions. So we can take that file and add it to our workspace. So we're going to use it to make any more graphics or to just keep track of how everything is connected. So again, this is all tied to the CAD model, and we can directly assess and easily update our illustrations. Let's go ahead and we're just going to choose the defaults here to go ahead and open up this Illustrate file. We're just going to keep all of the defaults. And what it's going to have us do first is select what parts from that engineering BOM structure, what do we want to keep on for our Illustrate. We're just going to bring it all in, but you are able to just select the pieces that you want, or if you need to make any sub-assembly changes, you can do that in Illustrate as well. I'm just going to use some basic Creo Illustrate functionality to change what angle, what view we're looking at for our model here. We can rotate these views around. Any views that your engineers would have already made in CAD will carry through to the Illustrate as well. So we're going to make our figure, change the orientation here. and then set this as our figure view. The same what we were doing before, where we have these different figures for different purposes. So this one, we want to call out attention to our front leg assembly here. We can go ahead and make it look more like a true graphic by giving it this rendering, but we are going to select all of these back pieces here. And we're going to make them phantom objects. So it's really drawing attention out to these front legs. So once we have that done, we can really see that the front legs are really being called out. And maybe we decided we don't like that the engineers made these feet red. We can change them back to gray for our illustration as well, all within Creo Illustrate. And we're going to select the components and parts that we want callouts for. So we want to make some annotations. We want some balloons on these specific parts. So we're going to select them and then say that we would like balloons for all of these pieces. We can select the balloon style as well. You're not limited to your options there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these balloons and what they're pointing to. So Illustrate gave a good guess of where I'd like them, but I can move them easily, just drag and replace these balloon structures here. So I'm able to pick and choose what I want the person reading this document to look at, how they want to view it. So the next thing we're going to do after I place this last balloon is make one of those detailed insets like we did before. Again, you have different options for how you would like the formatting of those insets to be. And we're going to also rescale it so I can really blow up that specific part. And we can control the preferences here. So if I'd like no leader lines, I can toggle them off. I can also change line thickness. The next thing I want to do is I want to explode these bolts out. So I'm going to select on them, and I'm going to use the transform axis that automatically pulls up with Illustrate here. Once I do that, I can add in explode lines, letting the reader of this document know where those screws came from. The last thing I'll do, just to keep my formatting the same with what I did with those front legs, I can make some more annotations or balloons here as well. So once I add in some more annotations into the inset, the detail view here, I can auto check this back into Windchill for someone else to pull up to look for whatever purpose this graphic is. I'm going to save it as the name that I want anyone in Windchill to be able to search and find. And then once I auto check this back into Windchill, I can watch the whole process on my bottom right-hand corner here. I'll be able to see when the upload starts, when the save is complete, and when the check-in is complete. Now, if we navigate back to Windchill here with the Workgroup Manager, within the workspace, we can see a new illustration has been saved to the server. So we're able to see, the whole process of having visibility into what we've done. Windchill is going to allow us to have that. And we're also able to see this illustration down here, the file name, the source, and the latest version of the CAD file that we are pointing to. So we're able to see all the related information to this graphic. We can see the illustration source from the CAD file, the latest version of the source, and the graphic it's linked to as well. So if we navigate to the illustration source, we're going to have direct visibility into that CAD model that the engineers made. So we can start at the Illustrate file in Windchill, work our way all the way back into CAD, which is what we're looking at now, or we can start at the CAD and work all the way back down to Illustrate. So let's say that this design has gone through several design changes. The engineers have taken a look at these feet and have decided that it causes some rocking of the whole backhoe. So they need to redesign, add some more surface area to the feet to ground connection. So once the engineers have gone through their design changes, they've gone through the formal process of redesigning and re-uploading, we can go back into navigate back into Windchill, and we're able to see this new design. So once I see, I'll be able to see that the engineers have uploaded A.2 which has been updated significantly for these feet. So right now we're looking at 8.1. So this was the old file format here where the feet were still rounded and didn't have as much surface area. If I switch and look at any updates that were made, I'm able to see that there's an 8.2 design where the feet become more squared off and more surface area has been added to them. So I see that the CAD has been updated. Now, how can I get those updates into Illustrate? So it's already gone through the approval process, and then we can see our illustration source here, and if we are on the correct version. Going back into the workspace, we can see the previous illustration that's been built, and there'll be a visual indication here once this loads up that it is out of date. If I scroll down, you'll see that little clock icon there, letting us know that the illustration source is no longer pointing to the most updated CAD. And I can see that the latest version is 8.2, but the version that I'm using for this Illustrate file is 8.1. So if I go back into the workspace and go to that graphic, I'm going to open it and then walk through the process of updating this Illustrate file to match it with the new CAD. So it's asking me if I would like to update it. So I have the choice as the illustrator. If I'd like to implement these new changes the engineering made, you can also automate this process. So if I go ahead and finish loading in these updates, we'll be able to see the new foot design. I can also zoom in here so we can take a closer look at this feet design. So it's a powerful process in the way that we're able to create all of these illustrations and save them off as 3D or 2D formats. But we can also connect it to our PLM solution, Windchill, and push the updates straight from the engineers into our Illustrate. All right. So with that, that was the demo we had to show. Hopefully that gave you a good picture of how Creo Illustrate was designed for your illustrators in order to go ahead and make any graphics or 3D material they need. With that, I do have just a couple slides to wrap up. Okay. So some value that you can really get with Illustrate is that you can link your illustrations to your 3D source. That's going to allow for faster creation of illustrations for 3D or 2D content, and much faster whenever you do have a CAD update. It's also going to be independent from your engineering resources. So you can work with any 3D CAD model type, and your engineers won't have to be so hands-on with all of these processes. You can also minimize any duplicate work because your engineers are going to be able to pass off everything to illustrators for your illustrators then to make all the graphics that you need. Can also maximize your illustration use when you're able to save it off for people to look in Creo View or PNGs or PDFs instead. Can also accelerate your time to market because you're not waiting on those service manuals in order to ship the product. You can have your illustrators working on all of those graphics while the engineers are still doing design changes and then push those design changes through. Can also improve your customer satisfaction because you're going to have high quality manuals with correct and rich 3D or 2D graphical information. With that, thank you so much for listening to my Creo Illustrate presentation today. If you do have any questions, you can reach out to EAC. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation on Creo Illustrate, Colleen. I think we can all learn how to make our service documentation better with this tool. If you have any questions, please reach out to Jenny or I. Thanks again for joining, everyone, and have a great day.